As well as we will be opening up the Q&A chat feature so that if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to write in your questions and we'll either answer them during the presentation, or we might save them for the end of the presentation so everyone can hear your question and hear the answer as well. So again, we're so excited to have you guys. Thank you for being our partners in your children's learning. We could not do it without you all this year. It truly is a triangle between the teachers, the students, and the families. And we're so excited that you guys are taking such an active role in your children's education. So I'm going to introduce you guys to our teacher expert panel. These three amazing teachers are truly experts in Moore County schools and are leading the way with their virtual teaching of our younger students. Our first teacher that we have is Miss Beth Alderson, and she is teaching kindergarten, virtual kindergarten at Aberdeen Elementary School. Her favorite thing about teaching is building relationships with all of her students, as well as a really fun fact about her classroom is she is in the brand new Aberdeen Elementary School, which is beautiful if you haven't seen it already. And her new classroom actually has a fenced-off play area just for her kids on the side of her room. So that's a fun fact about her classroom. Next, we have Miss Rachel Deasy, and she is a kindergarten teacher at Pinehurst Elementary. And she loves how kids will say whatever comes to their mind. I'm sure parents at home, you can share in how awesome that is and maybe a little embarrassing at different times, but that truly is a fun part about teaching. And she loves how every single one of her kindergartners are virtual. She teaches for the Connect Academy, and they can use Google Classroom this year, which is truly phenomenal considering it is just September. So she is going to be such a great resource on this panel. We also have Miss Ward, Patsy Ward. She is a second grade teacher at Robbins Elementary, currently in the Connect Academy, teaching all remote students. Her favorite thing about teaching is sharing her love of learning with her students. And a fun fact about her classroom is that she has a really big library, which is awesome. I am sure that her students love to see her library, and she might even share some tips for how to build that love of reading through the remote virtual platform. So I'm so happy to have these three awesome teachers. Thank you for joining us. We also have district level support today. And I apologize, I forgot to update two of their snazzy photos, but aren't they cute? Ms. Donna Gebhardt, this is her in kindergarten. She is our Director of Curriculum and Instruction for Moore County Schools, and she will be chiming in at different points with her perspective as a curriculum leader, as well as Miss Heather Stewart, who is the Assistant Director of Technology. Just kidding. I'm sorry, guys. She is the Assistant Director of Curriculum and Instruction. Major typo there. So she partners with Donna a lot. Now we have the true Assistant Director of Technology, Mr. Steve Johnson. He is manning the slides tonight, and he also has a wealth of knowledge about all of the technology issues that you may experience with the iPad, how to troubleshoot them and problem solve and get y'all connected from the technical standpoint. We also have myself, Mariah Morris. I am our Innovation and Special Projects Coordinator, and again, we're just really happy to have you all with us tonight.
I believe that is me, correct? Meet your iPad.
I think that's me, Patsy.
Oh, good.
I mean, you've met the iPad too, so.
Oh, yeah, I have, and the Chromebook.
That's okay. I was trying to find my mute button. Yeah, so I am excited to have you guys here. Really glad that you guys are with us to talk about the iPad and the tool that it is and how it's going to be used in your classroom. I reiterate what Mariah said, these teachers are fantastic. They are the true experts. And I'm here to kind of give you an overview of what the iPad is and kind of how to take care of it while you've got it. Most of us have probably had experience with tablets before, but the iPads we've got are very similar to this. I actually picked one up here. It's similar to the iPad that you've had. iPad home button, of course, is a go-to spot. It's on the bottom of the iPad. And so I'll just bring mine up here for just a second. Hard to see on camera, but it's always in that bottom middle slot. When you get your iPad and you're at home, those of you that are Connect students will already have your iPads, and those of you that are Plan B students will be getting your iPads in the future, in the next month. And so when you are given that iPad, you'll be given the iPad with a case, a very protective case, and a charger that goes with it, and it's assigned directly to your student. And so that is what you'll be getting as your package with your iPad. And of course, along with that, you want to make sure that you charge it up and keep it charged and only use the charger that comes with it. That is the best fit for that iPad that you receive. Just to give you a little bit more information, just kind of things that we've had a lot of devices in the district, K through 12, and we've been using them for quite a long time. And we've been trying to each year make sure the students and families really learn about how to care for the iPad. They are very durable devices, but they're not unless you have good care of them. They do come with very solid cases, so that's definitely a big plus. Now, if they do get a bit messy or dirty, you can certainly clean it. Don't put too much water on it whenever you're getting your cloth and cleaning it off. Don't get any moisture into the ports or any of the iPhone or the headphone jacks. And don't use any like harsh household cleaners. Just a little bit of water will do just fine. Of course, don't put food or drink near your iPad. That's always a good thing to make sure kids are aware of. The ports, the only parts that are really weak on the iPad are the parts where you plug things in and out. So just very carefully, whenever you're putting headphones or charging it, just make sure that you're putting it directly in and carefully taking it out. The next one is one that we've seen with kids as we've given devices out. Your students are issued a device, but it is still a school device. So it is not their own device. And much that they would want to put their own stickers or labels or things on it, we want to make sure that they do not do that because it's very easy to get a sticker on, and we've learned that it is very difficult to get a sticker off. And so just be careful of that. And unfortunately, families can be charged for damages if we have stickers and things that we can't get off. This one's, it's kind of a no-brainer, but we always make sure we tell kids don't place heavy objects on the iPad. That's just a way to protect the screen. And this one is also very important. It is issued to the student. Do not loan it to someone else, because if another student or another child is using the one that's been issued to you and it gets broken, then it is your responsibility as a student, as a family, to cover that. And so it's just very important to keep that responsibility with the students and make sure that they keep their own device with them. I just want to share with you this site. As we've rolled out devices this year, especially in K-5, this is a brand new thing for us in Moore County Schools. We've never issued devices for at-home use in K-5. And so we've tried to provide as much support as possible for this endeavor. And one way that we're doing this is our DIF team, which is Digital Integration Facilitators. They work throughout the county, has put together a site that we are constantly maintaining and updating, and it's housed at www.ncmcs.org/virtual support. This link is also on all the Moore County web pages. If you go to your school web page and go to parents, you'll see it. But for just a second, I just want to take a look and show you what's on this site as you navigate it. As you get your iPad home and you have any issues that you're seeing come up, this is a good place to start to see if you can get those issues resolved. And so the first thing that you're going to see here is how to connect to home Wi-Fi. Those instructions are right here. They're also in Spanish here as well. We also have video walkthroughs on how to add apps at home. And so I'm going to show you that a little bit here in a moment, but that's another thing that is available in case you forget what we're saying tonight. You can come on back to it. As you scroll down, you'll also see that this is a place where you can request technical support. We're going to talk about this at the end, but this is the procedures for how we can help you in case your device is having issues at home and you need some help with it. And finally, at the bottom, we've got a lot of information about Google Classroom. Your teachers are going to talk to you about that in just a moment. And then down here, we've also got some information about Google Meets, Seesaw, drawings. These are other things, Jamboard that might be used with your iPads at home. So that is our virtual support site. And again, that's a good first step, and it is very adaptable. So as we've rolled out, we've tried to really keep it up to date. And if issues come up and teachers are telling us or families are telling us they're having problems, we try to put it right on that site so everyone can see. All right, so this is a slide. I didn't make the message fabulous. Ms. Alderson made this, but I will show you a little bit and just give you a little bit of tips here on home networks and troubleshooting. Since you are going to be using these iPads at home, obviously, if you have issues with your Wi-Fi, first thing you want to do, of course, is make sure that it's turned on. Make sure that the password for your Wi-Fi is correct and keyed in correctly. So that's an issue that we've seen where sometimes we're just putting in the wrong letters, and sometimes those Wi-Fi passwords can be really long and complicated. And so you want to make sure you get it in exactly right. And then finally, I've had to do this many times in my house. If your Wi-Fi is not working, the best solution is to take the plug on the back of your router or your wireless connection at home, unplug it, wait a few seconds, plug it back in, and then try to reconnect. And that solves a lot of the issues that we've seen at home. The other issue is, we were just talking about this before the panel got started, is sometimes you can have issues of multiple people using the same access point in your house. So for example, my daughters, I've just told them they can't stream any TV during this meeting. They can't play on Fortnite right now. And so sometimes what you'll see is if it's slow, it's often that other people in the house are trying to eat up that bandwidth in your house. And then also that applies to hotspots. So if you're a family that is using a hotspot at home, you might see that same issue as well. All right, and the final thing that I wanted to talk about before we turn over to the experts is just a little bit about the apps on the iPad. Since these are at home, sometimes teachers will ask to install new apps. So if there's something new that they want to work on at home, they might send you a message through their various services, Seesaw, Dojo, whatever. And this is how you do it. So on the iPad, there is an app, and it is called Mobile Manager, and it's just called Manager. And it should be on the home screen of your iPad. There she blows. And in that app, when you click on that app, you're going to see this next screen pop up. This was very confusing when we first rolled out. And so folks were trying to log into this bar to insert the activation information. You don't need to worry about that. That is nothing you need to worry about. It's already logged in and it's already managed. You just have to click on that self-service button at the bottom, and that's what pops up the apps that are available to download. And so that's how you actually get to those apps, is hitting that self-service. It's not very explanatory inside the app, so that's the steps on how to get to those apps that you've been asked to download. And there's also a video that's available on the site to walk through that same process of how to do it from one of our media specialists. Now, before I turn it over, I just want to answer a question that came up last night, and I should have put it on a slide, and that is about filtering and students' access to the internet. And so that's a really great question, and it's important to know that the filtering on our iPads works the same as it does in our school. And so when it's at home, it's logged into our filtering system so that whenever students are accessing the internet, you're seeing the same filters at home as you are at school. All right, so that was a quick kind of run through of the iPad and what it is and how to get to the apps and how to get some support if you're having trouble at home. And at this point, I will click ahead, and I'm not sure who takes it next, but I will turn it over to you.
Yes, so one of the main platforms that your children will be using is Google Classroom. And the next few slides, we're just going to be talking about how your child can log into Google Classroom on the iPad, you know, what can they do within this platform. Also, we'll be discussing about how children can join the teacher's Google Meet, as well as talk about how we can find their assignments and any of their activities that their teachers assign through Google Classroom. And so the first thing to do in order to get onto the Google app Classroom is on your child's iPad. You're going to look for their Google Classroom app, and once you click on that, it's going to prompt them to enter in their username and password. And some teachers will be, they may be putting this information in their students' iPads already, so it's there for you. But it's important to know how to do this anyways, just in case, you know, you get disconnected, you need to re-enter the information. And so each student will be provided with their username and password. And it's really important to know when you enter in their username that you make sure that the cases are correct, uppercase and lowercase, and just make sure you follow every letter and case and number on that card that's given to them. And so once you type in all information, you click next, and it will save that information in there for you, so that all your child has to do every day when they log on is just click on the Google Classroom app on the iPad. And so once they are logged on, most students will have 1 to 2 of these classrooms, depending on their teacher's preferences. And then all they need to do is, once their teacher has enrolled them into their class, they just will click on their teacher's name. And so once students are in Google Classroom, this is how they'll be accessing all the assignments that their teachers provide them. Students will be able to see their due dates after they complete activities, and we'll be showing that in the next few slides what the activities will look like. Teachers can actually type in different feedback, and they can resend their assignments back in. Students will also be able to join Google Meet for live instruction through this app as well.
That one's me, so I had to unmute myself. So there are a couple ways to get your live instruction through Google Meet. So we're going to talk about the 2 different ways to do it. The first one is going through Google Classroom. So when you're in the Google Classroom app, this is kind of what it looks like at the top when you're in your child's classroom. And as long as they are connected to their Google account, you will see a camera up at the top of that classroom. And by clicking that button, it will connect your child to the live Google Meet. But one of the things that I've been telling people that's really important is, if you get an error message for this Meet, a lot of the time it's because the teacher is not yet in that Meet. And so give them a minute and let the teacher get in there, because the students cannot get in without the teacher being in. Okay, so if you do get that error message, just be a little patient. It's because the teacher's not yet in there. So that's the way to get in through Google Classroom. There you go. That was my next slide. The other way is a Google Meet app. And I have found that my parents actually prefer this method. So you just kind of have to find what's comfortable for you and your student. The Google Meet app is already on your child's iPad when you get it. And the first thing you need to do is make sure that you're logged in with your Google account. I kind of put a little picture there. You can see my face in the corner. If you see your child's initial up there, that means they're logged in. And then once you make sure they're logged in, you just click Join Meeting. You enter the meeting code, which is given by your teacher, and then it enters. Again, making sure that if you get an error message, a lot of the times it means the teacher has not joined yet. And then I created a little video for my parents on getting in through Google Meet. So I went ahead and attached that to the slide as well, so that if you're having trouble or you're a visual learner like I am, then you can see it in live time.
And so teachers will be assigning different activities for students to be completed in Google Classroom. And so once your child is logged on, there will be 3 tabs up at the bottom of their iPad. It will say Stream, Classwork, People. The stream will be all the different posts and announcements that teachers will share with the class. And you can see the assignments there, and you can click right there on the stream, or you can go to Classwork, where you can see what activities the students are assigned. And then once you click on it, you'll be able to read any of the directions, when the due date is, any other expectations for that activity. And then once your child finishes it, you just press turn in, and that's how it'll be submitted through the teacher. I know for my class, specifically for kindergarten, we do a lot of the sliding activities on the iPad, and one troubleshoot we had to go through was making sure that as they were dragging things with their fingers, just to make sure to drag it in the middle so that, things weren't resizing. But it took us a few times to get things going, and everything's going great with the assignment. So just give it some time and be patient, and things will work out.
So one other thing we wanted to go over, because it's becoming a bigger part of our iPad journey, is an app called Clever. It's an online system that houses programs on what we call a single sign-on. So kids are able to log in with one login, and it gives them a bunch of programs to use. One thing that surprised my parents when we used this is the app logs in with a QR code, which is super easy. You can just scan the QR code, except when you scan the QR code, it takes you out of the app into a browser like Safari or Chrome. So a lot of parents are like, oh no, it's taking them to the internet. That's okay. That's what it's supposed to do. It takes you to a website where it houses the programs. I put a little picture of what the dashboard looks like on a student, just so you could kind of see. You can see Google Classroom is housed there, some BrainPop. Two of the most important programs I think that you're going to be using a lot at home is the one that says Literacy Footprints. That's one of our guided reading programs, and Big Ideas Learning is our math curriculum. So that is an online math textbook for our students to use at home. It's actually a really great resource. So I wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. It is a QR code that your teacher can print off, and you just scan that QR code. And that way I'm sorry, my daughter is peeking in my door right now. And I also made some instructional videos at the bottom. There's a video at the bottom showing you how to log in and navigate Clever. I made that for my parents. So again, I linked that here for you. And then I also made a video of the Big Ideas Math textbook, because it can be a little confusing when you navigate it. So I made a video of me navigating that on the iPad. So if you get lost at Big Ideas Math, you can come back and watch that video as well if you get lost.
Unmute. Google Meet tips. Communication is key with your teacher. That the teacher, there's no, the old thing that there's no question that's not a good question, all questions, because the teacher needs to know what's going on your end. And if you have a question, maybe not maybe, that she can help you on her end as well. If your child is not logged in with their Moore County Schools Google email, it will not let them join the Meet. Please don't use your own account. Log into the Google Meet for live classes about a few minutes ahead of time. But like Beth or Rachel said, if the teacher has to be there first, so just hold on a second for that and wait for them. If you want your child to only see the teacher and not their classmates, you'll notice a little bar in the middle of their screen. You can pin them, and then they'll only see the teacher and they won't see anyone else in the class as well either. Practice using the mute and unmute button. Because those teaching, it's like, okay, don't forget to unmute. And we laugh because we teachers forget to do that too. And we're in meetings like, you're muted. So, but it takes a little bit of practice. But I know my kids are really good about, they come into the meeting and they're muted. And so because we pick up all the noise that goes on in the background. If you can't see your teacher's video, or if it's frozen, leave the Meet and return. This will usually fix it. Try not to get too far ahead of the teacher. If she posts more than, assignments for a few days. Try to please stay with the teacher, because she's got he or she has valuable information, teaching information that they want their students to see before they complete the activities. Have your child sit in the same quiet learning spot, just like they would in the classroom. I reminded my students this morning, you're at school. It might not look like your normal classroom, but you are at school. And I asked them to turn their TVs off and be in a quiet place and have their materials right there with them. Attendance is taken daily, and it's based on work completion. So once again, that circles back to the first thing we said about the communication with your child's teacher is key. So if they're at the doctor's office or something, it works just like in actual school. The teacher needs to be aware of these things, of why they're not at the meet, or maybe why some work is not done in the very same day or something like that. But there are lots of apps on the iPad. Ask your teacher which ones are best for your child. I know personally I've tried not to overwhelm them, because so much of it is new and we're just taking it bit by bit and using what we use in the classroom. But there you go. Is this me too? No.
I think this was Mariah.
Yeah, I think so. I think it is Mariah.
She's going to talk to us about the wonderful additional resources.
Yes, thank you so much. And in Moore County Schools, we have built a fantastic website led really by Steve Johnson and his great group of diffs, where they have really provided a ton of extra resources for you to use at home. So Steve, if you don't mind clicking on this website, and while he does that, I'll share with you how to get to it. If you go to the Moore County Schools homepage, there's a Return to School tab under Announcements. And when you click on that, you simply click where it says click here, and this information will come up. It is incredibly helpful. Under the technology section, there's a lot of print tutorials that you can access to figure out if you have a hard time accessing Clever or the Google app or anything that we shared today. There's a lot of information where, be it videos or print resources, to walk you through that. There's also Power School support, technical support in terms of who to reach out to if you don't get your answers through this website. There's parent support. One of my favorite things here is there's actually social emotional learning support for our students, because we know that staying at home can be sometimes a little challenging if our students aren't having a regular routine and seeing peers. So there's really great mindfulness videos and yoga videos, things like that you can supplement. Also, if you scroll down, Steve, you can find some of the transportation if your child is in the group B, if you ever need help, or meal information, and then additional information from the state about COVID and remote learning. So this is kind of a one-stop shop. When this webinar is finished, we will have the recording up at the top under the resources for parents. The webinar, it says Family Learning series. We did the Chromebook webinar last night and the YouTube videos up there, so please feel free to access those and share out with anyone who might benefit.
Great. So this is the end of the show, and so this is just a chance for any questions, and we'll hit the Q&A here in just a moment. But before we do that, I just want to let you know how to go through getting any questions answered as we go through. And if you already have your devices at home as Connect, or in the future you have them as Plan B, these are the steps to get more help. I think I mentioned it earlier, but I think it's worth revisiting. This is the first time we have ever gone one-to-one devices in our grades K-5. Our IT staff has done a tremendous job of getting those devices together and working and sent home for our students. And so this is a process, so that if you do have issues, the first contact is just like Patsy said, is the teacher. The communication with the teacher, I'll just underline that, is key, because they're the ones who are assigning the assignments. They know what they've put out. A lot of the questions that you may have will have to do with, where's the assignment? How do I turn it in? Things like that. So your teacher is the best first stop. Now, if the teacher's unable to help, that's when they can enter in a help desk ticket if it's a troubleshooting issue that either a diff or media specialist or IT can help with. And then failing that, we also have some tech support emails that are set up that are part of that original site that I showed you on request technical assistance, as well as a hotline number. And I will also mention that in the next few weeks, as we've rolled out these devices and started to see the issues that have required the most attention, in the next few weeks, we're going to do some streamlining and do some other things to provide additional support, which could include more times at night for families to come in and make appointments and ask questions. And it could include some opportunities of swapping devices. So just to keep you in the loop, we have devices that we can swap out. And so if it's a real technical issue where something is broken and the device itself is just not working, then oftentimes what you'll see is we will just swap with a new device so that you can have it back as quickly as possible and take it back home with you. And then we'll keep the device that's broken and fix it and put it back into what we call our loaner pool. And so while your child is issued a device, they might not have that same device the entire year if there is a swap that we have to do. So I just want to make sure you're aware of that as well. And again, all that information is on the website, and we are very glad to serve you and support you in however we can to be successful.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you to all the wonderful panelists who shared your expertise and knowledge. We're going to open it up now for Q&A as well as the chat. So please, if you have any questions for this dynamic group of teachers, please feel free to pop it in the chat. We already have one question. This question is about what's going to happen when the iPads are rolled out. I'm guessing for our Plan B students. Is the iPad going to replace worksheets such as cutouts and writing practice? So can our teacher panel talk to our families about that balance with the technology and then some of those motor skills that our youngest learners really need to keep practicing?
Yes, absolutely. So, when the students are engaged at home with the iPad for virtual learning, that's the main preface of making sure they're engaging activities that are just specifically designed for the iPad. However, teachers are being very creative and making sure students are engaged in those foundational skills for writing and those fine motor skills. So teachers are finding lots of creative ways, having students practice writing on their whiteboards. They'll be taking journals home and given different writing prompts so they can be practicing writing their letters and their sight words and their sentences all on those journals. I know the county has also given our families math workbooks, so they'll be practicing writing their numbers and different, math skills within those workbooks. And teachers are also providing families with at-home learning skills, which is cutting and shoe tying to practice those fine motor skills. And, parents are such a huge part in their child's education that, any activities that you need, please ask your teachers and they will provide you with anything that you need to make sure your child is getting the education that they need.
Rachel, I was going to say that too. I think
yeah.
It's a family, school, student basis. And I know that's kind of a blanket thing that everybody hates that answer, but it's, it kind of depends on the student. If you feel like your child needs that, reach out to your teacher and say, I feel like my student needs more, letter practice or writing practice or cutting practice. And, we are more than happy to accommodate. My parents ask me all the time for extra practice on this or that, and, I'll send it home. So I think, just reach out to your teacher if you feel that, your child needs more of that if they're not getting as much as you feel.
Thank you for that great question, as well as the great answers. We have another question, and this is more a technology question, so I might throw this one out there to Steve. And this is about a second grader who actually has a laptop, and her laptop randomly won't power on easily. And so it takes several attempts to hold down the power button to turn it on. And this is causing the student to almost be late to a live session because it is randomly malfunctioning. Do you think this is something worthy of trading in and getting a different device, or is there something that they can do to troubleshoot this at home?
Yeah, so for this issue, if it's persistent and it's causing problems where you're not able to log in and it won't power up consistently, yes, that would be a perfect candidate for a swap. That wouldn't be something that we would expect you to try and fix. So yeah, contact your school and your school's teacher and media specialist, and what they could do is coordinate that swap. And typically what will happen is it will be a curbside type of situation. And so the person there will meet you outside with a swap that you could then swap out because of the restrictions of people entering buildings and such like that. So yes, that would be a good candidate for that.
Awesome. So this is another curriculum question for our teachers. This is coming from a Plan B parent who has a spouse who is deployed, and she also works. Part of what works well with the worksheets, like the packets going home, is the flexibility that they have in terms of when school actually happens each day in their own home, so that she can plan around her own job. Should she expect this flexibility to change with the introduction of technology and potentially the live teaching? And I just have to say, this is an excellent question. I am a working parent as well, so I'm excited to hear this answer myself.
If you guys don't mind, I'll take this one first because I have a lot of military parents that ask this question. And I'm going to do a quick shout out to my principal, Dante Poole, because his motto this year, he tells us every day, we are flexible and nimble. That's our motto for the year. And he has this picture of somebody doing the limbo that hangs around the school. So what I would say is, especially in my classroom, I know in my classroom, I videotape my live classes, or I record them and then I post those videos. So, we understand, I'm a working parent of a preschooler. And so she has stuff that comes home and you can't always be there live. So the teachers are recording their lives. If you can't make it, just reach out to your teacher. I had a parent call me today and say, hey, my kid's got a doctor's appointment. I'm not going to be at the live. And I said, not a problem. I'm recording it. Just watch the recording. So I think just communication with your teacher. Absolutely. And some of the work not all the work's going to be live, because kindergartens and first graders cannot sit in front of a screen for 8 hours of the day. They just can't. I have a 3-year-old, and after 30 minutes, she's zoned out, right? So I think it's important to do what your child can do and keep up with the work that's not live, as much as you can. And then watch if you can't get to the live class, then watch the recorded live class. As long as you're communicating with your teacher, I think we're all kind of in the same boat, rowing in the same direction.
I think that's a great thing to reflect on, Beth. We as parents have to understand our children, and this webinar is geared towards our youngest learners, kindergarten and first grade, and they're young, their brains are still developing, and there's going to be moments when we have to make sure that they are having enough playtime and de-screening and things like that. So I love that question, and I think everyone in Moore County Schools understands that we are talking about children and working families and being able to accommodate all different situations in our homes. It's our goal to make this successful for everyone and not to be punitive or difficult in any capacity. I don't see any more questions, so I'm going to turn it over to Donna, our Director of Curriculum and Instruction, to close us out and to offer any words of wisdom for our families as they embark on this new adventure.
I know part of that question, I just have to pick at Mariah. I've heard of the cool 3 Little Pigs puppets in her household. So I know some of those non-digital resources have been engaging for our students. And I know our teachers will still continue to offer that. I want to thank our 3 teachers immensely for all that they did. Steve, thank you for putting together this. Mariah, you have been an inspiration to help our families out. And I want to most of all thank our families. This is not a usual school year. We're changing school. I always say we're making history every day that we have kids in school. I'm very appreciative of Moore County Schools for taking the lead in the state. We are one of the few districts who brought kids back under Plan B, and we have been very successful. A lot of districts are looking to us now to say, what are y'all doing that's going, things seem to be going well. And that's because of you guys as families. You guys are really pulling for us, working with us, and we cannot thank you enough for all that you do for our kids and for our teachers. So thank you, families. We know that this is a unique time, and I know that as we put devices in kids' hands in the next couple of weeks, it'll be a lot of excitement in the homes, but we are here for you, and we're here to help you in any way that you need help. So we thank you for attending tonight, and we appreciate all you do and look forward to working with you and hopefully seeing you at the next webinar.
Great. Thank you, everyone. We're going to log off now.
Thank you.